Fellow Ghanaians, good morning and welcome to another edition of this important conversation. And this morning, we talk about something that's long overdue for national courage: the teacher and nursing training allowances. That sacred cow politicians are too afraid to slaughter. But we must, not because we are heartless, but because we are broke, and common sense must finally sit where populism once ruled. Fellow Ghanaians, let's not pretend this is a new debate. These allowances have been chewed and chewed and chewed again and again on radio, TV, town halls, and even X spaces. But somehow, we never say the final thing that must be said. They must go. Not reformed, not revised, scrapped, abolished, retired, with thanks and realism. We need a rewind. These allowances were introduced decades ago in a different Ghana. A Ghana where nobody wanted to be a teacher or a nurse through the nursing and teacher training institutions. They preferred to go to the universities, where the professors were seen as last resorts, not call-ins. So the state decided to incentivize by giving students stipends, allowances to encourage enrollment. Back then, it made sense. It was strategic. Supply of teachers and nurses was low. Demand was high. It was a targeted push. But that was then. This is now. Fellow Ghanaians, we are no longer in that Ghana. Today, teacher training colleges and nursing training institutions are oversubscribed. Yes, I said that, oversubscribed. Thousands apply and many are turned away. So why are we still paying people to join queues they are already rushing to join? Instead, why can we not use those resources to expand these institutions and admit even more students? And let's get this straight. This isn't just a small token. In 2025 alone, the government of Ghana budgeted over 900 million cedis. Yes, you heard right. Nearly $1 billion Ghana cedis to pay teacher and nursing training allowances. Almost $1 billion cedis. In a country that is currently at the IMF for a bailout. A country restructuring its debts. A country with school children learning under trees, hospitals without beds, and senior high schools students eating gari more than 3 times a week. 900 million cedis could build 200 new 6-unit classroom blocks. 900 million cedis could fully fund NHIS for vulnerable groups. 900 million cedis could buy teaching and learning materials for every basic school in Ghana. Instead, what are we doing? We are using it to give money to students. Not all students, only a few, simply because they are in a teacher or nursing training college. Now, here is the kicker. If you are studying nursing or education at the University of Ghana, UCC, KNUST, or UUW, you get no such allowance, 0. You apply for a loan like every other Ghanaian student. And that is the absurdity. 2 students, same career path, one is paid, the other is not, simply because one goes to a college and the other goes to a university. So where is the fairness and where is the logic? Fellow Ghanaians, let's be blunt. This allowance policy is outdated, is discriminatory, is unsustainably, and frankly, a vote-buying relic. It's not driven by equity. It is not driven by evidence. It is driven by fear. Politicians fear losing votes. So they throw money they don't have to buy applause they don't need for policies that simply doesn't work. Let me ask you, what kind of nation borrows to pay allowances? What kind of nation with a debt to GDP so high is still doing politics with cash transfers? What kind of country seeks debt forgiveness from its creditors and still insists on paying stipends to students simply because it is politically convenient? We cut funds for science research. We delay payments to contractors. In fact, we cap GET fund. We owe feeding grants to special schools. But somehow, nursing and teacher training allowances must be paid on time. This is not leadership. It is laziness in expensive clothes. Fellow Ghanaians, and it gets worse. These allowances are also shrinking motivation, I would argue. When you pay someone to become a nurse or a teacher, you risk attracting people who are not there for the mission, but for the money. That is not how you build a workforce of passion. That's how you build a workforce of frustration. We've all heard stories, nurses and teachers. In particular, nurses with poor bedside manners, teachers who never show up at school, student trainees openly saying, well, we came here for the allowance. Is that a Ghana we want? Let's not pretend that the system is even working. Allowance payments are erratic. Trainees protest every other semester. Schools are forced to borrow to feed students while they wait for the allowance. So we are spending nearly 1 billion cedis and still producing dissatisfaction. That is not policy. That is a Ponzi scheme with patriotic branding. Fellow Ghanaians, we must now choose optics or outcomes. This allowance culture has become sacred, but not because it works, but sacred because politicians have lied to people that it is a right. It is not. Education is a right. An allowance is a privilege, and privileges must serve the public good. If they don't, they must go. So what must we do to end this? First, let's end the allowance regime immediately. Announce a clear sunset clause. All new entrants from the 2025-2026 academic year should no longer receive allowances. Finito. These persons who have already enrolled can continue till the exit, but the pipeline must be closed now. No ambiguity, no half measures. And then secondly, open up the student loan trust fund to all public tertiary students, including those in teacher and nursing training colleges. No one should be left behind, but support should be need-based, not automatic. Third, let's redirect the savings, nearly 1 billion cedis, into service improvement, better teacher training facilities, I should say, better nursing labs, practical teaching tools, clinical placements, tutor salaries, and finally, invest in making the actual professions attractive, competitive salaries, housing, professional development, but don't pay them to enter. Pay them well when they exit. That is how we get to a place where these issues are dealt with. Fellow Ghanaians, this is not anti-nurse. This is not anti-teacher. I have family members who are in these colleges. This is pro-Ghana. And Ghana needs serious thinking, not sentimental governance. If this country is serious about development, we must stop romanticizing outdated policies. We cannot keep buying silence with stipends. We cannot keep hiding fiscal responsibility under the name of these traditions. We cannot pretend that what was wise in the 60s, 70s, or 80s must still apply in big 2025. Let the politicians face the music. Let them stop playing the type tune of we restored the teacher training allowances, so you must vote for me. As if that alone is enough for the government. As if that alone feeds the future. Let them tell us how this country will climb out of poverty if we keep spending like fools. Fellow Ghanaians, if you're training listening to me this morning, I understand you, but nobody wants to lose a benefit. I understand that. But remember this, if your education depends solely on a measly monthly allowance, then that system has already failed you, and you deserve better. Not bribes in brown envelopes like these, but dignity in the profession you've chosen. If you're a parent, ask yourself, is this what you want for your children? Is this what you want to teach them? That they must be paid to learn, or that learning in itself is a ladder? If you're a leader, you need to ask yourself, the government, you need to ask yourself these questions. Will history remember you as the one who kept buying time or the one who finally took a stand? And so how do I do this with the Minister of Education? You need to do something. Fellow Ghanaians, the allowance must go, not out of cruelty, but out of courage. Not out of politics, but out of principle. We cannot build a strong country on a foundation of weak decisions. We cannot move forward by clinging to policies that simply no longer make sense. If we do not end this now, the hole will only get deeper. The budget will bleed more, and the hypocrisy will only grow louder. Let this be the year we choose logic over legacy. Let this be the moment we end the allowance illusion. Fellow Ghanaians, I'll see you again tomorrow. But let's go on the screen and let's talk about some of the things we can use these amounts of money that we continue to pay for. We really need to have something better to do with our money. Nursing training allowances since 2017 3.18 billion Ghana cedis. Teacher training allowance since 2017, 1.78 billion cedis. Since 2017, if you add these two figures, and my math is not so good, but you are nearly 5 billion Ghana cedis spent paying people to learn to become something they say they want to be. That is not how you build nation. That is not how you build patriotic stuff. And we really need to get to the point where we can do more. And let's get to the next slide where it talks to you about some of the things we can use these huge amount of money for. Because 5 billion Ghana cedis, and like I told you at the top of the show, there are so many schools you can build. There are so many hospitals you can build, so many clinics, chip compounds in places where they truly need it. And we already have the numbers. The amount of money I've just told you about, nearly 5 billion Ghana cedis, can build 4,906 unit classroom blocks. This is a country that is more than 60 years, but with thousands and thousands of schools still on the tree. And you can build 4,906 unit classroom blocks with this amount of money you pay every year to students free of charge to simply take, consume, and then perhaps say they'll vote for you in the next election, but we are not building a nation. And so as we conclude on this segment today, fellow Ghanaians, we all need to come together and say enough is enough. Teacher training allowances, nursing training allowances, they were good 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 70 years ago, but in 2025, they are not. And we need to come together to say enough is enough. My name is Kwaku Asante, and I'll see you again tomorrow morning.